I'm Kenny Hopkins. I'm with Silver Bullet Computers. Ronnie's over there, and Ryan's over there. We're also part of Silver Bullet Computers, and the same Silver Bullet Computers that David Dyer started about 7 years ago. If y'all know David Dyer, great guy. He's decided to move on. I think he just got tired of trying to run a small business. But I think he wanted health benefits or something like that, crazy stuff like that. But anyhow, we'd like to thank the city of Bowie, Lydia Evans, for allowing us and asking us actually to come up here and help educate the public on some of these things that we work on a regular basis. So we're just going to kind of go through things that work on. I'm going to get this going here. Hold on. Oh, there we go. I got to hit the actual right button there. But this is part of a 4-part series at this point. We might extend it later, but it's part of a 4-part series for right now. And this month we'll be talking about computer security. Just a little bit about Silver Bullet Computers, just in case. Got a lot of little animation in PowerPoint, by the way, here. We provide all kinds of stuff when it comes to computer support. Hardware, software sales, repair. We provide rural high-speed internet access outside the city. We do a lot of web design, web development. We work with quite a large number of brands there. We're working with Best Hats down in Fort Worth, which is, of course, part of American Hat Company here. We're working with Larry Mahan on websites. We do working on the city's hospital, Bowie Memorial Hospital's website, which, by the way, is just, if you haven't checked out some of the stuff that's going on over at the hospital, they're really doing a lot of things to do a lot of improvements and adding services that are just good stuff going on up there. And we do websites in, I forget what it was, it's 32 different states right now we have websites in right now. So we do a lot of websites, not just here in Bowie, but we do a lot of stuff here in Bowie, and we do a lot of stuff out there. That's the amazing thing about the internet. Anybody can find you right here in Bowie, Texas. So that's kind of a good lesson, I think, for people that are trying to open their business, a small business, and get it out online. Anybody can find you. But from a service perspective, we go to, literally in the last month, of course, Montague County, Clay, Wise, Jack, Denton, Tarrant, Wichita, and Cook counties. We're actually also all the way up in Duncan, Oklahoma sometimes. So we get around. You'll see these guys every once in a while just pop up on the radar, pass them in town, say hi when you see them in Alvord, or if you're over in Jacksboro or whatnot. We can provide on-site technicians, of course, because we're going all those counties. Or you can just call us up on the telephone and say, hi, I got a computer problem. Can you fix it? And most of the time we can log into your computer right from there. A lady from Boyd called us the other day, say, I got a computer problem. And we were like, can I bring it to you? And we said, well, why don't we just log into your computer and see if we can fix it from right there? And it costs about the same, so why waste the gas? And in most cases, again, same-day support. Your personal business computers doesn't really matter. If it's something that a nerd would do, it's something that we probably do. We do video services, by the way. Of course, we've got video cameras here, but we've got a lot more stuff that we do as well. So why are we here? We're here to talk about internet security on your computer. And I was trying to think, what's your goal? What's your goal when you're trying to think about internet security? Well, you want to be able to use your computer. You want your computer to work, and you want to maintain some sort of anonymity online. You want to feel good about using your credit card online at Amazon or PayPal, and you want to feel good about logging into your banking website and feel like, hey, this is safe. They're supplying these services, so they think it's safe, and in fact, it is safe on their end. And it's probably safe at your end, but there's some place in between that the creek gets muddled a little bit. Should you really be concerned about internet security internet privacy, computer viruses, internet identity fraud. Is this stuff you just hear about? It happened to that person on the news one point, or I saw it on a movie. But do we really care about it here in Bowie, Texas? Does it really affect you? Consumer Reports. This is almost a quote. I think I changed one or two words to make it flow right for me. But Computer Reports says that home users connected to the internet have 1 in 3 chances of suffering a financial loss, computer damage, or both because of a virus that snuck into their computer by going to the internet. I think I put this, little blot there, lions and tigers and bears. Sometimes we say lions and tigers and bears, oh my, like we're trying to blow things out of proportion, But lions, tigers, and bears, oh my, just got real with that quote. 1 in 3 people. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, we've got 4 people right here that have, according to Consumer Reports, will, not could, but will suffer a financial loss due to the internet. Now, what's a financial loss? Could it be breaking into your account? Well, that'd probably be the worst case scenario, or identity theft. But it could be just malware, shutting down your computer. If you got to bring your computer to us to get fixed, well, that's a financial loss. I mean, our minimum charge normally is about $85 to get viruses off your computer. So if you lose $85 because, well, that's a financial loss too. And I'm not sure exactly if where they're, lumping that sum in, but to me, $85 is $85. That's a lot of money to me. The chances are that you have a computer on your virus at home right now. And when I say the chances are, I would bet real money if I was a betting man. I would bet real money that everybody here has a virus on that computer. I'd almost bet money that this computer that I'm showing this on has a virus on it. It's that prevalent. You go to the internet, you're going to get a virus of some kind. Go to Facebook, go to Google. We're going to talk about these things and how they get there. And what ones are the really big scary ones and what are the ones that are just looking around. Viruses, malware, spyware, adware, etc. What is all this stuff? Viruses, worms, Trojans, phishing, malware, spyware, bloatware, ransomware, underwear? I thought it was cute. Okay, let's talk definitions first of all. What's a virus? Well, I just looked up on the Webster's Dictionary just in case. I go to church, and my preacher's wife all the time, when she's going through a verse, she's reading it through it, and she says, "What does this word really mean?" And she just breaks open the dictionary right there. And these guys will attest, we all go to church together, and she'll just break open the dictionary and start reading out what the definition of this word means to make her point explanation, So I decided, well, what's a virus in itself? Well, a virus is an infective agent that typically consists of nucleic acid molecule in a protein coat that is too small to be seen, important point, by a light microscopy, I'm not a scientist, and is able to multiply only within living cells of a host. The 3 points there that are important: infective agent, too small to be seen, and multiplies. So what is a computer virus? Using the same facility to get what a computer virus is. Now, it's a piece of code that is capable of copying itself and typically has a detrimental effect such as corrupting a system or destroying data. So that's where they kind of get it. It's small. It's supposed to be very, hard to see, and by the average eye, and it copies itself. In other words, is it copying itself on your computer? Potentially, and then when you go out and talk to something else, then it spreads it again to somebody else's computer, and that's how computer viruses do this. This word you've heard, viral, just all over the place. Malware. This is another very generic name that we use. Virus is a very generic name. Virus can mean a lot of things in the computer world. You'll also hear this word malware a lot of times substituted. Malware means malicious software. It's any kind of software used to distribute computer operations, gain sensitive information, or gain access to other private computer systems. Major culprits, a lot of places that you'll get malware from. We see it all the time. Every day in our shop it comes in. Coupon sites. Anybody ever seen coupon sites on the internet? Gaming sites, poker, even solitaire. The fun ones where you're playing the Candy Crush, not using your phone but online. The Facebook ones. And when I say not on Facebook, but Facebook takes you to another site, okay? And now it's no longer Facebook's responsibility because you clicked OK, and we're going to talk about clicking OK here after a while, but recipe programs, every recipe site on the web. I started looking for a recipe the other day on the web, and I found every one of them I went to, I was finding malware. Every single recipe site. It doesn't matter which one it was. We couldn't find one that didn't have some type of something coming off of it. Google searches, you put something into Google and you just start clicking away, right? Well, Google in itself is one of the most safest applications on the planet. Google's results, however, have nothing to do with Google. What Google is doing is trying to give you a result set for something you're looking for, and it's trying to say, hey, I found websites that had these keywords in it, you know, and these key popularities, and so we displayed them back to you, and at that point, clicker beware. You should be really worried about what things you're clicking on when it comes to doing standard Google searches. We'll, again, get a little bit more of that later, too. Nothing you install will protect you from you clicking yes, I agree, okay. There is nothing, no awesome Norton's antivirus, internet security, the extra jumbo combo business pack that costs the extra money. Nothing will stop you from getting a virus on your computer if you say it's okay to come onto my computer, right? Anybody ever seen the okay or I agree? You know, one of the things that we see regularly is you might be downloading some actual software that is credible, that is something you actually want, and it's supposed to do something that you want it to do. And in the 50 pages that you click I agree on at the bottom, because you didn't realize it was 50 pages because it said thing and then I agree at the bottom, right? We've all done it. I've never read one of those things all the way through. I know nobody else that I know has. But on page 27 or 35 or 172, there will be something on there, inevitably, by clicking OK or I agree, gives us the right to install whatever the heck we want for any reason that we could possibly want and for any amount of money that somebody else might give us to do the same. Which really means you're opening a gateway by clicking OK. Yes, you click OK, and in installing X program, you get Y and Z at the same time. It happens all the time, every day, every minute of the day here in Bowie, and gosh, millions of times, you know, a minute everywhere in the United States. Trojan horse. Again, this is similar to what I was just talking about, only a little bit more elusive. You are getting some software that appears to be useful, harmless. You've searched on something, I need this printer driver because I can't find my Canon disk, and for some reason I've got to reinstall this program. So you go out to the web and you put in Canon printer driver model number, okay? And it says, oh, hey, here's your model, here's your driver. You know, it's the first one that came up on Google. It doesn't say Canon, www.canon.com, which is Canon's site, right? It says some other thing like CNET or some other thing. And you click OK, and guess what? You get that driver just fine, okay? The driver gets your printer up and running and everything. But what the Trojan horse is, as we all know, it's I've given you something, but it's not necessarily what it seems. Okay? I've given you something for free, and what it has in there is something else that's doing something else for some purpose that has nothing to do with printing paper out of that machine. Now, how big of a deal is that? It can be small and it can be big, but the point is it's doing something on purpose that they're purposely not telling you about, okay? And it has nothing to do with, it might be logging what you're doing, it might be sending messages back to the mothership saying, oh, hey, this person is going to Facebook 250 times a day, or whatever have you. It's watching something you're doing, it's logging something you're doing, or it's just slowing down your computer because some crack kid in Russia was bored one day, which is a lot of those. Spyware. I don't know if you can read this. I'll read it out loud here. Software that can be displayed as advertisements, such as pop-up ads. You've all got the pop-up ads, imagine. Collect information about you or change settings on your computer generally without properly obtaining your consent. You usually download spyware, again, without knowing it from untrustworthy sites. And I put untrustworthy in print in italics because just because I'm saying it's untrustworthy doesn't necessarily mean that you realize it's untrustworthy, because you probably wouldn't have went to it if you realized it was untrustworthy. Optimizer Pro, PC Optimizer Pro, one of the best. We get this one on almost every single computer nowadays that comes into the shop. PC Optimizer Pro. This is kind of just a screenshot of what it comes up, and it's a pop-up. Poof! It comes up and it says, "Oh, hey, you've got invalid registry entries, whatever that means. You've got junk files and you've got internet junk on your computer. Ooh, be scared, lions and tigers and bears. Don't be fooled. It looks professional. They are not a Microsoft partner. I can put that on my website too. Looks very technical, I think. In a lot of cases, it says it's scanning. You've got the little thing. It's got a little bar going back and forth. It's just a little video program doing nothing but showing you a little bar going back and forth. It's not scanning anything." And in fact, Optimizer Pro de-optimizes your computer. And by the way, they advertise this one on television, I believe. But does it de-optimize on purpose? It does a lot of other things, and it's looking for stuff. Phishing, another one is an attempt to acquire sensitive information such as usernames, passwords, credit card details from somewhere on the internet, masquerading as somebody legitimate. Okay, and in this case, they're absolutely masquerading. They're doing everything that they can. Let me tell you a quick story. This happened to my father. Okay, he, instead of going up here to www.google.com, he goes to the browser search and just types Chase Online, right? Because he banks with Chase Manhattan. He could have did this with Legend or whatever, any bank, right? And he went to the very first one he got to. In this case, it says ad, by the way, but it didn't necessarily have to say ad. It probably didn't actually in his case. And then he just clicked on the first one and it hit, right? Well, right here it says www.chase.com. That's a good thing because Google's telling you that's what their address is. He didn't look at it close enough. It said www.chase.cz. Anybody want to know what the CZ stands for? Anybody got a guess? Czech Republic. Okay? Czechoslovakia is what CZ stands for, which is now the Czech Republic. And well, guess what? Chase Manhattan probably doesn't have offices in the Czech Republic. And they might, I don't know, but their homepage is not from the Czech Republic. So what did he do? He clicked on it, okay? And let me tell you what he saw. He clicked on it. Chase Manhattan's site came up. Login information. He logged in. Looked legitimate site. Logged in. He's got his banking details now. They couldn't possibly know that, right? Got his banking details, did his stuff, logged out. Have a nice day. Now let me tell you what actually happened. He clicked the link that was CZ that he didn't notice, because instead of putting chase.com up here, which is what, or legendbank.com or citibank.com, he went to a search for his bank. You should never search for your bank. You should know what your bank, you should have it up in your favorites, right? Instead, it went to a website that looked exactly like Chase's website, to the T. Okay, looked exactly like Chase Manhattan's website. He went to log in. They copied his login information. Then their program forwarded it to the real Chase and logged him in. So now he has access to his bank, and well, they do too, right? Because they've copied his strokes of his keys now, right? And so what happens? He logs off, and they're free to do whatever they want. That happens, according to the FBI, thousands of times a day. I mean, the people do it all the time. And what's your security after that? One, being careful about what you're going after here, and then two, Chase will discover it very quickly, because 100,000 people, I guarantee, called Chase Manhattan that day and said, "Hey, you've got a .cz here. What is this site?" And I'm like, people that are technical like me are calling up. I'm like, "Hey, the very first search on Google is a Czech Republic one that I'll bet you isn't you." And so I'll bet you Google took it down really quick. But Google can be fooled in people hire these people called SEO experts, search engine optimization experts, and they know how to finagle with Google's ratings on a good site. And so you get somebody that's really good at that. They do it for a couple hours. Google changes the things around really quick, and poof, you've got temporary until Google catches it, and they will. But, for those couple of hours, how many people are logging into one of the largest banks in the world? All thousands of times a minute, right? Here's another one. This is a great one. And this is really kind of a poor example. I just grabbed this one off the internet. I've seen really good examples where I've stopped and shown people in my shop where PayPal will send me something. Legend Bank will send me something. It's not coming from them. It's some special email coming from somebody else that is mimicking their website. You have to be careful about looking at your email, because in the ones that I got, they were amazingly well done. I mean, it looked just like it was, "Hey, can you please sign into PayPal?" And it wasn't asking me to update any details. It just said, "Hey, you got a message from PayPal. Go ahead and log in." Had PayPal logo, all that stuff. If you click it, it takes you to a website. It looks just like PayPal. But that top bar right there, you can't fool, going back, that top bar that was up there, you can't fool that top bar. That URL, that hyperlink up at the top bar, what you see is what you get on that top bar. So be really careful about looking at that top bar. Sorry, previous slide. Oh, this was just an example of First Generic Bank. This was just an example somebody made, right? And you can see up here it says accounts at First Generic Bank. We'll call it Legend Bank, legendbank.com, right? To ensure your account information is not vulnerable, they're concerned about you, please go to this hyperlink, right? legendbank.com, okay? But if you look at this really closely, which is a true hyperlink right here, you'll notice there's a couple things that you don't see here. The .com's way here at the end. These dots right here are things that you can put right in front of them. So what do you know about websites? Everybody's been to a website, I'm assuming, in here. You know www.something.com, okay? So what that means, the www is the subnet part of the address. It's part of the main website, but it's like a different department maybe, okay? So www means maybe the general department, we could call it, right? And then yourwebsite.com, okay? Yourwebsite.com. So what is the website here? The website here is account-updateinfo.com, which could be made by anybody, but certainly not Legend Bank. Legend Bank's URL will be Legend Bank, not legendbank dot something dot something dot something, because the website here is not this, it's that .com. Remember www dot, everything in the middle from that dot to the next dot is the website. All the dots before are something else altogether. All the stuff after .com / has to do with this guy right here. Okay? Everything before is horse manure as far as anybody's concerned. I mean, sometimes it's legitimate stuff, but again, because I can put like beta or test, or I can put department names in there. But at the end of the day, everything here belongs to that address here, not www.legendbank.com something. It's these two right here you could all practical purposes take out. Actually, even the www, because all this stuff at the end of the day means something that belongs to this guy right there. Does that clear up that question? Sure? We got plenty of time.
I understood that when you said the other part of the account, because that's .com, meaning that it was going to go to somebody else.
Right. So what they did is, hey, the person that banks at my bank, hey, Legend Bank user, I bank at Legend, and it says, hey, Legend Bank user, as a courtesy to our valued customers, please take the time and make sure that you're not vulnerable to attack by going to our website and clearing up some stuff. Just go to this link and clear up some stuff. Now, I get an email from Legend Bank when they have a notification in the website. I don't know if you guys get it. You know, it says, hey, we've put something in the website. Well, what's to stop somebody else from saying the exact same thing? Nothing. So when you go to that website, what do you care about? You care about what's up at that top bar right there, right? The URL or hyperlink, as it's called, something www. You are looking for what, and I encourage you, the next time you do it, look at it. Now, interestingly enough, Legend uses, and other banks use, other type of software embedded as well. So, for example, if you click on a statement, it'll actually take you to another site. But you are inside that site when it takes you there. That's the key. You are already logged into Legend Bank. You are already encrypted at a high encryption level. And by the way, once you are in Legend Bank, there ain't nobody getting your information. It doesn't matter how good of a sniffer they've got. That stuff is encrypted. So it's on the wire, and you're okay. But the key is getting to the bank correctly, right? If someone has your login information, then by George, it's encrypted for them too, and they can see it just fine. So we want to get to the site. But once you're in the site, it's just fine. Once you're in the house, you don't have to worry about any bad guys coming in. Well, the news would disagree with that, because we know that the news keeps, banks keep getting hacked, and you know, we heard about Home Depot here recently. We heard about Target. Target got a really big one, but that's a separate thing. They're not going in through the website. They're hacking their servers and getting data off of it. So they're not logging in with, you know, standard information. Ransomware. This is a big one for us here for a couple of years. Ransomware is you go to a website, and for some reason you clicked one thing or another, and it led you to something that's restricted your movement. It might cut you off from the internet. It might cut you off from actually doing anything from your computer. We've had some really good ones that you log in and there's nothing you can do now. I mean, it comes up and it says, attention. This is a real one, by the way. It says, Federal Bureau of Investigation, International Police Association. First of all, let's assume that the first two, those two don't work together. Association is like that's not a police force, right? It's like a club or a fraternity, right? Attention, your computer has been locked because you have broken. Your PC is blocked due to one of these reasons specified below. You did child pornography, or you're gambling online with an illegal country, you sent an email to Cuba, and you're going to get 5 years in prison. 5 years in prison if you don't send them $300. Whew! So does that mean I can communicate with Cuba 5 times for $1,500? Do I get a discounted quantity? You were going to say something? If you can. If you can. If that virus gets on your computer, you're more than likely coming to see me. Too late. We've had, I don't know, 400 or 500 people in the surrounding counties come to us, and you say, well, gosh, no one's going to believe that. You know how many phone calls I've got from people? Hey, this guy, I just called the FBI and they told me to call you. The FBI didn't tell them to call me. They did call the FBI because they were like, what did you lock up my computer for? The FBI told them, we didn't. You should probably call a local computer repair guy is what happened, right? So let's just assume that if you were talking to Iran illegally or doing child pornography, the first hit that you're going to get it is the guy with the warrant at your front door, okay, right? I mean, they're not going to call you ahead of time and say, oh, hey, instead of dealing with all these court and, warrant people, we've just found it to be cheaper just for you to pay the fine online here. What a deal. I mean, it's like those things in the city, the picture taking yeah. They were really big in Phoenix there for a while. We lived in Phoenix for a while, and there for a while they had them everywhere. Everywhere you went, if you were speeding, you run a red light, do anything wrong, they took a picture of you. And then people started figuring out how to get around them. If my wife was driving and they sent it to my name, then, well, gosh, I don't have to do anything about it. I sent them back, that ain't me driving, that's my... and eventually they just took down the whole thing because they all of a sudden realized that, well, gosh, Supreme Court said it was all illegal entrapment. I don't know why, but almost every time someone was breaking the law, but I guess for some reason they thought it was illegal. But this right here, again, they'll take your money, by the way. They will take your money. And in some cases, they'll actually unlock your computer, believe it or not. A major one, I don't know if you watch the news a lot or not, but the city of Baltimore got a virus similar to this, and they couldn't break it, and they had to pay the fine. They paid the fine to the bad guys to unlock their computer system, and this was the city of Baltimore's main computer system. They paid them it was like a $400 fine, $400, and it got them out because they were trying to figure out, and they could have probably figured it out, but the amount of time it was taking them to figure it out versus the amount of time the system being down, they decided, well, someone whip out a credit card and see if it works. And in fact, it unlocked them. Now, they probably took that charge because the hacker didn't know it landed on the city of Baltimore's website, right? I mean, a city of Baltimore's computers. They probably weren't expecting that to happen. They were probably expecting that, they probably have awesome security systems, so this is only going to land on people that, we can cause problems with. But so I suspect somebody tracked them down eventually, but they were probably in Eastern Europe, so it probably didn't matter anyway. Someplace the FBI is out of control, not talking to them. But so these things are really disruptive. They've disrupted a lot of people. They have been on every municipality's website every municipality's computers that I know of in the area. I'm talking Bowie, Nakona, Alvord, Boyd, Denton, Decatur. Everybody's gotten this in one way or another that's on the internet a lot. And they're not going, and make sure you understand, they're not going to bad websites. Oh, that person must have been to a pornography website. They could have went to JCPenney's and got that. JCPenney's.com. And JCPenney's didn't know it was there. That's the key. The second they knew it was there, they got rid of it. But they're pretty good about what they're doing. Real quick, one of the ways that people sometimes get stuff on their computers is, again, we're clicking OK. We're clicking I agree. This one up here, notice that, well, you can't really tell, but it's a bluish bar. Isn't it bluish or purple? And up here it says verified publisher. This is the operating system saying verified publisher, and the verified publisher is Microsoft. I know you can't see it very well, but that's what I'm trying to point to. And if it's by Microsoft, then we like them. We want Microsoft updates. Over here, this one right here has kind of a different color. It's kind of a yellow color, and it's got this little caution icon on there. And the publisher, unknown. Okay? And now all of a sudden, maybe we should be thinking about it. Now, unknown doesn't necessarily mean bad. It just, at that point in time, when it was registered, it was not registered with Microsoft, so Microsoft doesn't know who they are. If you were to download something from silverbulletcomputers.com, which there's no downloads on there, but in the future, maybe we'll have this presentation on there maybe, and you could potentially download it. And that might be unknown to Microsoft, and you might get that. But the key is Microsoft is trying to point it out, trying to say as bold as they can without making it look too obnoxious. They're saying, hey, you sure you want to go forward? Is what they're asking. And you're clicking yes every time because that's what's in our nature, because we don't want to be slowed down when we're on our computer. A couple of the other things you want to be looking for, these things down here. A lot of times people will get Java updates as well, and people get so tired of their Java updates, and they get so tired of the Windows updates and the Adobe updates. I get one little old lady downtown who shall know name unnamed. She calls me every time she gets an Adobe update and says, is it okay? We've got her trained right, probably too right at this point. But she's worried. Why? Because she's had her computer into our store, and she got something from Adobe Flash Player Pro. The problem with that is Adobe Flash Player Pro doesn't exist. Adobe Flash Player exists. There's no Pro edition. Okay, so the problem, that's true, right? Yeah, just make sure sometimes I don't want to misquote something, but it's Flash Player Pro. You see Flash Player Pro, and it's a real common one. People are clicking OK, and what is that? It's a virus. And how many, any idea, any guesses how many we've gotten in the store in the last 6 months? You think we've gotten 100? Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, people, and that's just over here in Bowie. I should move my business to downtown Dallas. We'd just be raking it in. No. But this system tray down here, what is it called? The system tray? It's called system tray notification bar, and it's down here in the bottom right-hand corner of your internet, of your computer. Things that go in there normally are legitimate, okay? And when I say normally, I would say 99.9% of the time. Now, does that stop someone from figuring it out? Well, at the end of the day, it's all just code. Right? The whole computer system is just code. So if it can be figured out, someone can figure out around it. But internet, Microsoft is trying its best to try to make sure that that system tray is clean. Only legitimate programs are in there. And Java comes from that system tray down here. There's a little Java signal. And as well as the Microsoft updates go there, as well as the Adobe updates go there. And if you see Adobe there, if you see Java, Java is also called Oracle or Sun, because those are the companies that put it out. They're the same company, one bought the other. Java, and everybody says, well, I don't need that Java. Can we just uninstall the Java? How many here has got a car that has been built since 2010? I don't, by the way. 2010, your car isn't starting without Java. Java is in your car. It's on everybody's cell phones here. It's in refrigerators now. It's everywhere. It is not just this little thing that it does the internet. It is a multifunctional operating platform that is very useful for the average developer. And so developers have figured out how to program with it very well, and you can find it everywhere. When you go to their site, it says Java has 3 billion uses right now, is what they call it. 3 billion uses, and they're not joking. Sure.
Is that Java legitimate if it's always orange? See that little orange icon?
Yeah. Which one? This one right here?
Yeah.
Yes.
Do we need to always look for that?
It'll prompt you. You can't. Can you turn off Java notifications? I guess you can, can't you? Not easily, yeah. It's because I don't think you can. I don't think the average user can just do it by accident. So.
But a website won't. You'll never see a Java update from a website.
Right. You'll never get a big pop-up up here of, oh, hey, you're out of date. You better get your Java installed, otherwise you will be unsafe from those hackers. Do it right now. You'll never get anything like that. Their messages are very simple, to the point, and they will all have this right here. They won't have this, right?
Will it always be in blue?
Those guys will always be in blue. They are very well known to Microsoft. It'll say Java, and it'll say Oracle or Sun Microsystems, or it'll say Adobe Corporation. And if it's over here in this area, we're happy with it because Microsoft has already signed off on it's got a special little encrypted key that comes with it that only they know, and Microsoft just says, oh, I know that key, I know this guy, he's okay. Over here, if you were to get Adobe with this right here, it would not be 99% sure it was a virus, it would be 100% sure it was a virus. I decided to throw this one in here too, although this doesn't really apply to most of us. It does somewhat, because we actually had this problem this morning. But denial of service is also called a DDoS, which is distributive denial of service. This is one of those things you see on the news where, oh my gosh, the North Koreans were invading the United States through the internet. They're talking about denial of service. And what they're doing is they're just sending so many signals to a certain website, like Sony. You've heard about Sony, and State Department's had this problem a couple times, but it's a little harder to do the State Department now. They've gotten better at what they do. But they're sending a ton of signals at the same time, and it's overwhelming the person that's, for example, Silverbolt Computers, not a big organization, as you're aware, small little itty, half the employees are sitting in this room. So we've got our website on a small little itty bitty server because we're not big bucks, right? So if I was to get 1,000 people come to my website at the same time, my computer would just crash. It'd be like, ah! I mean, that'd be a great problem to have if they were all legitimate. And if they were, by George, I'd upgrade my software, and we'd be making lots of money, and we'd be happy here in Bowie. We'd be spending more money on Allsups. But at the end of the day, that's what a denial of service, or when you hear about this cyber attack on CNN, it happens. Now, does it happen to other people on the planet? We manage a city, not the city of Bowie, but a city in Texas. We manage their website and some of their computer infrastructure. And they got hit with a denial of service attack this morning. And it didn't actually cause a problem because they were going to the wrong place. And it wasn't someone specifically just sitting down and doing it. It was just a computer program sniffing through the internet and saying, oh, hey, let's go after that guy right there. And thankfully, he went after a port that didn't really matter. And one of our partners that we work with in Scottsdale, a friend of mine, he's part of the Silverbolt computer family, if you will, Pronto Web Solutions. And he sent us an email, hey man, you're getting a denial of service on your thing, dude. You should probably do something about it. He didn't call me up on the phone because he knew it was going to a place where it wasn't hurting us. So otherwise he would have called us up on the phone right away. But he sent us and it was interesting because Ronnie wasn't catching the attack, but he was looking at it right at the time. We should probably fix that. Literally about the same time we got the email from him. So that was kind of cool that we kind of caught that at the same time. But it didn't cause any problems, and the city didn't even know about it. We didn't even tell them because there's no point. They were totally safe theoretically. So when you see these things on the news, U.S. seeks China's help against North Korea's cyber attacks. North Korea and their allies or whoever they're paying money to is paying money to just clobber big computer systems with a huge amount of traffic that's just doing nothing but sending bogus traffic. And that, I can only talk to so many human beings at the same time. I can't have a conversation with you, and you all at the same time. I can only speak to you at the same time. But that's what they're doing. They're sending conversations, if you will. They're sending packets, and the computer system says, oh, I'm getting 10 million conversations at the same time. I don't know what to do. And so it tries to handle all those, and now all of a sudden they're all backed up in queue, if you will. And so next, next, and there's 1 million at the end of the line, right? So that brings down the computer system potentially. They've got software that gets around that, but a lot of times you just don't know where the attack's going to come from. There is no good substitute for a good, paid, up-to-date antivirus internet security program. When I say good, I say in the top 10. I don't necessarily recommend one, but we do sell some at the office. When I say good, prepaid, and up-to-date, there's a lot of free ones out there. And a lot of those free ones are doing things that you shouldn't do. There is one antivirus that I won't name because we're on camera that just uninstalling that antivirus sometimes fixes our client's problem. Just uninstalling it. And that's unfortunate because that's a paid one. And sometimes it's a paid one, sometimes it's not. Their non-paid version is much worse. But some of the free ones are okay, but every one of them come with extras that you're not expecting. The only one that I know of that doesn't do that is Microsoft Security Essentials, Microsoft Windows Defender. That is a free one, and when I say the word free, I don't like to use the word free with them because they don't have a paid version. They don't have a subscription version. You don't sign up for it. It's a lifetime thing. If you have an operating system that'll work with it, it's a great start. Does it do all the stuff the really good ones do? No. But it is a great start. And we install in every computer that comes to the office. If a computer comes into our office that doesn't have an antivirus on it, we put it on by default. Did you have a question? Microsoft Security Essentials for Windows 7. Microsoft Windows Defender for Windows 8. They're good. Windows 7 didn't come with it automatically. Windows 8 comes with it automatically, right? Yeah, Windows 8 comes with it. Do you have to turn it on or is it on by default? Do we know? By default it's on? Yeah, so. By default on Windows 8 it's on. Windows 8 and above. Windows 7 and below it's not on by default. You have to actually download it from Microsoft's website, Microsoft.com, and go to Microsoft.com and go to security, and it's available. It doesn't work on XP anymore, by the way. It doesn't say this in this slide, but if you have Microsoft XP operating system or below, you have no business being on the internet. It's an old operating system. It came out in 2002. This is 2015, 15 years later. As we all know, the growing curve, it's been around a long time. Microsoft has washed their hands of it. They've said no. Last year, April 8th of 2014, they said, we will no longer support your problems. If you have a problem, they'd been doing a lot. It actually was 3 years past they were going to take it offline, but 3 years passed at that point that they finally said, okay, we're not going to do this anymore, and we're not going to give you any updates. We're not going to do anything that helps you deter these problems other than what we've already done. And so if you have XP, you've probably already seen the errors that say, hey, you shouldn't be using XP. If you have a legitimate business that legitimately talks to on the internet to a company, for example, say you were in, I hate to use the word insurance business. If you were in the insurance business, there's somebody here. Say you're in the insurance business and your insurance, your computer is talking to your insurance company, then you're probably in violation of their corporate rules. I'd almost guarantee it that if you're using XP. You are certainly potentially liable if something comes on and there's a court case and they say, well, hey, what computer were you using? Oh, this XP computer over here? You're potentially open for liable because every one of those companies sent out information. We got swamped on April 8th, the week of April 8th. People were just coming in the droves. Hey, our company said that our other company wasn't going to do business with us anymore because we still got XP. Oh, I mean, it was crazy. It was a great week for us. It was like Mother's Day for restaurants. I mean, we were really surprised that we we weren't really expecting. We figured companies were being proactive, but man, they weren't. Lots of people came in, and it was just we were talking online with different companies that we do not do business with, but other companies like us, and it was just a rave of it was like the 2000 Y2K bug over. It was amazing how many people that needed to upgrade right there and then, and not necessarily because they wanted to, but because of some other company they were doing business with said, hey, we're not going to do business with you anymore. We're going to cut off your feed, or you'll be liable for any problems if you don't upgrade. So they upgraded. A lot of them did. That's years in the making. Yeah, I mean, in that case, and that was years in the making. I mean, they had put out a notice 3 years ahead of time. We had a sign hanging in our office 15 months before that date saying that Microsoft, hey, and we let people know. They came in with XP. We were like, pointed to the sign, FYI, you should probably take care of this because this computer is XP. Now, we still get computers in the office that have XP on them, and we say, hey, if they're not doing any banking on them, they're not going onto social media, stuff like that, then more power to them. If they want to use that computer on XP and go to gaming sites, but they're not using it for any personal data, and they've got that discipline, then hey, there's nothing wrong with XP. XP is a great operating system. We loved it. We really miss it. It did things really well for a long time. But Windows 7, great as well. But unfortunately, it got older, and just like an old car, eventually you just have to upgrade because the fenders are going to fall off, and like my truck, or not fenders, I don't know. My truck still runs. What am I taking? It's paid for by George. Let's talk a little bit about, is your computer running smooth? What can you do? We get a lot of people that call us up on the phone and say, oh, my computer is running so slow, or they're telling me the internet's running so slow. Those are two separate things, and they are very hard to distinguish which one is the problem. Here in Bowie, as you are probably painfully aware, good internet is very hard to come by. We're just amazed at how slow our internet here is. When I lived in Phoenix 10 years ago, actually over 10 years ago, in 2003, they had this thing called 100 megabits down. 100 megabits down, which is, you'll say, well, what's that number? How do I relate to it? In town here, if you've got 6 megabits down, today, you're doing good, okay? 6 megabits. Sometimes you can get up to 9, sometimes you can get up to 12. But right now, 12 is kind of the ceiling that's consistent. You can get up to 18 every once in a while in some places on Uverse. I can't at any of my places, but Ronnie, you get like 18 every once in a while, 16 every once in a while. But it's so rare that anybody can get over 6 in this town with any of the providers. Now that's getting better as people grow out of the metroplex. The city's got, some of the companies have got fiber running down the freeway. They're just working on branching it out into our neighborhoods. And until that happens, we're not going to get fast internet like, say, Decatur might have, and certainly like Fort Worth has. We were having a good time the other day on the telephone with, we do some work for the local hospital here, and we were trying to fix one of their computers, and we were talking to somebody in Austin, Texas. In Austin, Texas, they just did this huge internet revitalization project with, and they partnered with AT&T and Google, most especially Google. And Google put, I don't know, $1 billion into the city of their own money. Just, hey, let's try this idea. And so we're talking to them, and we were asking them, hey, what's your internet speed? And it was 960 down. We were like, what? Your one computer could power our entire town. I mean, our internet. But it was amazing to see that, because it was just, it's mind-blowing, because 100 is just, we wish we had 15. I mean, on any given day, and 6 would be great every once in a while too. We sometimes want 6 even, but they were getting 960. We're like, wow, That's amazing. But that's not everywhere. It's only in 5 cities in the United States right now. Yeah, no, faster than that. It's moving faster than that. But it was really cool because I almost thought he was joking with me about how fast things were going. And could he really be accomplishing what he's doing that fast? Well, if you've got a good computer and you've got good internet, then you can really hustle along, right? But you can have good computers in this town, and still, if your internet is dragging you down, there's not much you can do about how fast Facebook goes, because everything here is on a party line. It doesn't matter whether you're on the AT&T, Internet America, or Vive. You are sharing that one connection that's coming up that highway, okay? That one connection with everybody, right? So even Internet America, it comes on through microwave. You're sharing that one connection that's coming up from Chico in this case, bouncing off of Chico Tower and from Decatur. You're sharing all that signal strength with everybody. So sometimes, around 8 o'clock in the evening, your computer starts going slow, your internet starts going slow, your Netflix starts buffering. Well, that's because everybody in town's watching the internet, using the internet. By the way, watching the internet, this is something that people are having a hard time understanding, and some of you guys might not understand this, but Netflix is a really big deal. So much that Netflix, not its competitors, Netflix themselves is 1/3 of all internet traffic in the United States in the evenings. So Monday through Friday, Netflix is taking up 1/3 of everything on the internet. 1/3. Is that crazy? That's how many people are using Netflix. Anybody got Netflix, by the way? You guys got Netflix? Netflix, yeah? You guys got Amazon Prime, right? Yeah, you got everything. You guys, do you even have television anymore? You don't. I know Ronnie doesn't have television. Well, because all your shows, they're on the internet. I don't know if y'all know Pat Garcia. The old lady lives over in Sunset, and she went to First Baptist Church for years and years. And she's just, Kenny, you just have to come on over here and fix my computer. My Netflix isn't working anymore. She doesn't have TV. I mean, she's out in the middle of nowhere, and she's got a little antenna, I guess, and that doesn't come in very well. But Netflix, she can get all the shows all her friends are talking about, and so it was kind of fun. She's a fun little girl to talk about. So, is your computer running smooth? Let's talk about this. Take care of your computer. Keep your updates up to date. People don't like to install Windows updates. Oh gosh, I heard the rumor every time you install a Windows update, you get a computer problem. That happens about 1 every 10,000 updates, okay? Even Microsoft people are human, and so they can make errors, but it's not going to kill your computer. The updates are absolutely important, especially from an antivirus perspective. They are updating their programs for the latest security issues. That's all of the updates. Almost all of the updates, if you go, because with all the updates, they'll actually tell you, if you look really close, they'll give you an opportunity to look and say, oh, what am I getting in this update? Almost all of them, every time, are security patches. So do we want updates? Yes, we want updates every time. Every time Java wants to get them, Adobe wants to give them, Windows wants to give them. Why do they want to give them? It's because they want you to be secure using their software. I saw a cartoon here a while back, and I wish I had it for you here, but it was they were making fun of Adobe because Adobe sends updates out so much that more people use the updates or put the updates than actually use their software, and that's a very true statement. But that's okay. That means that they actually care about your experience with their company. That's why they're spending. Every one of those updates came with hundreds and thousands of man hours. So you really want to take advantage of those updates. Make sure if you've got a Windows update, a Java update, an Adobe update, or antivirus, your antivirus, it'll put updates down there. And your antivirus has to stay online because that's how they update your software. Once you've loaded it, you got a disk or you got a link and you downloaded your antivirus and it's on your computer. It's not where it stops, that's where it begins. They're giving you the information about viruses that they know at that very minute that they wrote that disk. And that disk, by the time you install it, is way out of date. Okay, so you install it and you let it update. It's going to go out and get updates. They call them virus definitions. It's going to go out and get information from its home base. For example, Norton, it's going to go back to Norton. It's going to say, hey, give me all your updates. And it's going to bring them down to your computer, and then your computer is going to rescan and say, oh, do I know anything new? Do you got anything new for us that we've talked about? And it'll find it. And a lot of times it won't even tell you. In fact, you don't even want to be bothered. Why would you want to be bothered? Just let it do its job. If it finds something that's bad, let it do it automatically. Don't wait. Now I'm like, oh, I want to see this thing that I don't understand. You know, we don't care. Let it do its thing. You know, which updates do we use? We talked about this a little while ago, but we pay attention to what the actual update is, where we're getting that message from. Is it down there in the bottom area of your thing, or is it coming up with a big pop-up that says, hey, you might be vulnerable? You know, does it look like a sales message or not? I don't necessarily know that that's a good measure, because certainly they can be more elusive than that. But is it a pending request in your system tray? Is it the right manufacturer? In other words, what does the publisher say from Microsoft when you click the OK and that box comes up? Really quick thing right here. Anything that says it will speed up, clean up, optimize, fix, or repair your registry or infections on your computer is probably not something you want. I see this all the time. Hey, you have 86,319 infections on your computer. Do you really think you have 86,000 infections on your computer? Probably not. Your computer probably wouldn't have turned on at that point. You would have just got really tired of it and decided to bring it to me anyways, or go to Walmart and buy a new one at that point. I love the fact that they come in and I'm like, this thing says it's got 75,000 infections. What the heck did I do? You've got one infection, all right? Probably more than one, but you've got one talking about that right there. Somebody masquerading. We'll say it again. There's nothing you install will protect you from, I wanted to make sure I had proper English there. Nothing that you install is going to protect you from you clicking OK, or I agree, or yes, please give me a virus. Is your computer running too hot? This happens all the time. We get this all the time. People bring in their computer and they say, well, my computer just stopped working. Can you tell me what's wrong with it? And most of the time when that happens, there's a whole bunch of dust built up around these vents over here. Or you've seen the desks the computer desks, I love it. You go to Fry's Electronics and they've got a computer desk sitting right there. And on the side of the computer desk, what do they got? They got a little cupboard just for your computer, because that's a sales mechanism. It looks good. You open the door, you put your computer in there, and close the door. Well, anybody that knows about these computer systems know that they run. You looking at me? Oh, sorry. Sorry, I thought you were looking at me. Anybody knows a little bit about computer systems? The CPU on your computer can run at 200 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay? In other words, that's enough to like melt off your finger, I guess. That's pretty, I mean, you get in a jacuzzi really hot and it's 106 degrees, so what is 200 degrees, That's not boiling, I don't think, but it's pretty darn hot. So it's certainly going to burn you. So what is it going to do stuffed up in this small little closet that's got no ventilation whatsoever? It's going to get hotter and hotter and hotter, and it has no place to excavate. It's got fans. This has got fans on here. It's trying to get rid of all this stuff. But hey, if it's in a closed environment, there's nothing it can do. It's just going to get hotter and hotter and hotter until electronics don't like to get too hot. Once they get too hot, well, there's solder and it's metal, and eventually something breaks down, gets loose, and it just stops working. CPU dies, the motherboard dies, and well, you're out your computer there. We can fix your computer in a lot of cases. In a lot of cases, it's not worth fixing. But make sure you put your computer in a place that's got adequate ventilation. Keep the dust off of it. Use a little, squirt duster. Don't touch it with the duster, but make sure you can spray it from a distance with the dust. You're trying to excavate that dust from it. You can use canned air. Also, a vacuum with a nozzle is fine. Just a regular old, vacuum. You take off the little thing to get in the cracks. You can use that on your computer too. I do. Keep your laptops. Laptop. The worst name for a computer is a laptop. A laptop does not go in your lap. It's not supposed to go in your lap. If you get, just don't put it in your lap. One, not only can it burn you, but two, you're stopping the ventilation from happening. The laptops have got really itty-bitty little legs. Even here on this table, it's actually elevated off the table. It's got these small little legs. But once it's on your lap, it doesn't have any place to go. So it's going to heat up in the computer first, and if you fall asleep, you could burn your legs. Which happens all the time, by the way. Do a Google search on it. Don't put it on your bed. People love to put computers on the bed and, lay down, just kind of, you don't have anywhere for that air to escape if that computer is not sitting on a table or a flat surface. A lot of people get these small little laptop or lap things with a little desk on it. It's got a little fan on it. Those are great. But don't put them directly on your lap. Don't put them on your bed. You could catch something on fire. You could burn yourself. Laptops weren't made for your lap. Computers need rest too. Now, computers don't need to be reboot all the time. A lot of people think you've got to reboot your computer all the time, or every time you're done using it, turn it off. You don't have to actually do that. In fact, it might actually be bad for your computer to do that all the time. One of the most violent things of starting a car is starting the car, because that's when the cylinders fire. That's when the spark happens. Once your car is going, you're probably fine to run it. Same thing with the computer. You're going from a cold position to a hot position in a very quick time. Once it's at that hot position, then the computer tries to take over and do a little bit of regulation. But if you're constantly turning it off and turning it on and turning it off and turning it on, then you're getting, again, going from cold to hot all the time. And we know just from touch that that's not a great thing to do. Also, but certainly you do need to reboot your computer. Maybe once a week. If your computer starts getting sluggish, one of the best things to do before you call 1-800-SILVERBULLET computers, which doesn't exist, by the way, so don't try it. But one of the best things to do, and certainly any IT company will ever tell you if you call their hotline, they'll tell you, have you rebooted your computer yet? Well, anybody ever had that? If you've ever called your cable company with a cable problem, before they even talk about their problems, they'll say, have you rebooted your computer yet? What happens is a lot of things are running, and over time, you have this thing called random access memory. And you have this much memory in your computer available, okay, to do things. So you've got 0 to 100 spaces that you can use to do things at, right? And so when you first start your computer, after it's done doing its startup stuff, it starts going along and you can do things, and it goes along pretty fast because what it's doing, it's taking the very next space available, okay? It says, oh, I can use space 3, and now I can use space 4, now I can use space 5, and so on and so forth when it comes to memory, doing things with Microsoft Word or getting on the internet, all these things. I can use space 77, 79, and I get finally to 100. Well, what it does then is it goes back to the start, and it starts looking for places it can use. Well, I shut down Microsoft Word here. Oh, I can jump over to here. And oh, I've stopped using this one here, and oh, I can jump over here. But now what it's doing is it's having to find places that it can do things. And everything such as just moving a mouse around takes up one of those little slots, okay? And so you turn off Microsoft Office, and you turn on Microsoft Office, you turn on Internet Explorer, you turn it off. Each one of these things is taking up a place, and now the computer is not necessarily confused, but it's having to work harder to find that memory where it can say, oh, I'm going to store my Microsoft document here so my user can see it, and it has to look hard. And, well, maybe it might not even have a place that it can store it. Maybe it has to store Microsoft Word when it starts up here, here, and here. Well, now it's even slower, right? Because now we're having to store the program in multiple places instead of one consecutive place. So if you can kind of, visualize that little grid of having to go back and forth and find places, you can kind of see by default, if I had to run down here, and just place things as I go, that's not so hard. But if I have to run over there and then run back over here and find another place to put a piece of memory, it becomes somewhat of a problem for your computer to digest. And that happens over time as you've used up computers, and it also depends upon your computer resources, what you've got available. So, yeah.
Are you saying it's not a good thing to turn your computer all the way off every night?
I would agree with that statement.
Okay, that's what I've been doing. I've been powering mine down every night before I go to bed.
It doesn't hurt it per se. You only want to do it so often. I think once a week is good. We have clients that don't turn off their computers ever until they start to feel a slag. And your computer's got power management settings where it stops using different parts of your power, so it slows down the computer. It's really quite good about power management. It understands, we won't use this and we won't use this part of the computer. We're going to power these things down until somebody wiggles the mouse, right? You've seen that. And you can actually set those even farther down where, okay, everything goes to sleep and things stop working until someone comes along and wiggles the mouse. And if you don't know how to do that, or if you don't know what I'm talking about there, please come see us.
Does mine, have you got mine set where it automatically goes to sleep?
Man, I can't remember. Bring it up there and we can, is it a desktop or a laptop? I can't remember. Oh yeah, that's a little harder. We can talk about it. I can show you how to do it. We can talk you through it over the phone too. So when you restart it, it gets rid of this thing called random access memory, which is this whole long thing I'm talking about. You maybe have heard of RAM before. That's what we're talking about is that memory. Also, it cleans up a little bit of the hard drive every time you turn it off. And some operating system major updates require a reboot of your computer. As you've probably seen, this thing requires you to restart your computer, right? Please restart your computer when it says that. Unused software is bad in every way possible, but we'll talk about a couple things. If you have programs installed on your computer that you've never used or don't plan on using it, uninstall it. It's taking up space. It might be taking up resources. You want to review, there's a place, which I don't have a slide in here, but there's a place where in your computer you can check to see what's starting up with your computer. I think the next slide actually talks about that more. Let me see. Yeah, check out your list in your control panel, for example. Control panel won't find them all, and actually no place will find them all, but because malware sometimes wants to stay away from some of these places, but a lot of cases malware will actually be in your control panel. But what I'm talking about, like for example, Skype. Anybody heard of Skype or Yahoo Messenger? Any of these things? I've got Skype installed on this computer. I never ever use it. I should be taking a dose of my own medicine right here. I'm just telling you I'm infallible as a human being, and my wife actually uses this computer more often than I do, but maybe I'll blame it on her. but she probably uses it. If you've got Skype on your computer and you don't ever use it, make sure it's not starting up with the computer, because Skype by default starts up with your computer. And if you've got this much resources to run your computer, okay, and your computer starts up using this much resources, then you only have this much to play with after that point. So if Skype starts up, go find a place. You can Google the answer, but you could probably go to, do you know where that is actually off the top of your head? Yeah, how to turn off the startup programs. I can't remember either. Yeah, there's a place you can go in there and you can pick things that you don't want to start up. In other words, you've got the application there, and like for example, Microsoft Outlook. You can start Microsoft Outlook by clicking on the on button of your computer. It will start it up with the computer program because you use Microsoft Outlook every second. So why not have it up and running? Well, that makes sense if you've got to read your email all day long. But Skype, I don't ever use Skype. If I did use Skype all day long, then it might make sense. But in the meantime, it's taking up resources. I should just get rid of it. Did you have no question? Okay. Anything else that I can think of? Gosh, is there any other programs you can think of that? TomTom, sure, absolutely. You don't use your GPS on your computer, but TomTom's there saying, "Hey, FYI, go ahead and update your GPS." And well, your GPS isn't hooked up to your thing, so turn it off. And when you need TomTom, plug it into your computer and use it then. There's a ton of programs that start up, and malware, of course, is a lot of those. Malware will start up with your computer a lot of times. You're turning on your computer. Oh, hey, this person's waking up. Go ahead and wake up the evildoers as well. Let them know that this person's awake. And you can actually, a lot of those viruses are actually very obvious in your control panel. Some of them are very good at hiding themselves, and in fact can masquerade very well as something else, but like rootkits. In this case, a lot of malware is very easy to get rid of, and you can just undo. If you go into your startup programs and it says, and you see 10 programs there, and you recognize 9 of them, and you don't recognize this other one, and it doesn't have a publisher listed, and you just no idea. You Google it. If you Google a program, it'll tell you what that program is almost every time, and you don't even have to click on the link. It's almost obvious in the 3-line description that Google gives you of what it is, and so you can say, oh well, this one looks good or this one looks bad, and I'm just going to stop it from starting up, and then maybe you'll make the next decision to go to the control panel and uninstall it, and your computer will run better. What's your disaster plan? Almost every day, someone calls me up and says, I think my computer's broke. Can you get the data off of it? Did you back it up? No, I didn't do that. Last time you were in, you told me to, and I said I'd do it later. Later is great, There's a great religious song, and we won't use it for religious purposes, but it goes, tomorrow, I'll give my life tomorrow. Because, I'm too busy today. I'll do it tomorrow, right? What's your, don't wait for Katrina to come. Let's have a plan, I love Katrina. I mean, everybody, I remember watching 3 years before Katrina hit about this documentary saying, wow, it was a PBS documentary, and they were going through, filming, New Orleans, saying, if this guy ever gets hit by any type of hurricane, this whole town has got a problem. These levees won't hold, and this won't hold, and that won't hold. I mean, it was public knowledge. It wasn't a government secret. I mean, if PBS knows it and it's on Channel 13 by George, then then everybody knows about it, right? And especially the government. And so don't wait for your Katrina to come. Couple things we can do to head off our Katrina coming. Do you have a UPS? And this is not your surge protector you get from Walmart. Sorry, Walmart sells UPSs, but they also sell these power strips. And these power strips have got these little 8 things that you can plug in. It's got an on and off button, and it says surge protector. That surge protector doesn't work in this town, okay? We don't live in Dallas, Texas, where they have got a multi-billion-dollar electrical grid going on. If you've lived in Bowie long enough, you understand that we have a couple things wrong in Bowie. One, our power system is not as stable as, say, Dallas's is. 2, we have a lot of grounding problems in our houses around here. And if we don't know about that, I encourage you to look at your own house and find out whether or not your own house electricity is actually grounded correctly to specs of what, say, the city of Bowie would call a spec today. Because once it's spec'd and it's inspected, they don't come back 10 years later and say, oh, hey, inspections went up, we've increased our standards. They don't come back to the house, it's grandfathered, right? It's there for forever until someone decides to do something about it, or say you renovate. Then they might come along and say, hey, you should probably upgrade your grounding standards. But I suggest you find that out, because that has something to do with the electrical surges sometimes. But if you have a power surge, anything less than a direct lightning strike, Okay? If you get hit by lightning right at your house, there's nothing that can protect your electricity. Okay? Unless you have a big old lightning rod and it runs to the ground, and I'm not even sure that that will help. We had something that was grounded, very well protected, and that lightning hit, what, about 50 feet away? It hit about 50 foot, and it was, 50 foot's pretty darn close for an electrical hit, and it hit the ground, and 50 feet, it doesn't come straight down. You've seen the pictures, you got a lot of static electricity, and you get hit, and that was, as far as it was concerned, was a direct hit. Now, that was a pole that was outside. It wasn't inside, insulated in a house. But it was a well-built structure, so, and it got fried. And in that case was a very expensive thing to fix, because it didn't just wipe out their internet, it wiped out a lot of things that were electrical there. But anything less than a direct lightning strike, a UPS will likely protect you from. A UPS has got a battery in it. It's got an actual battery in it. So what happens in that electrical surge, you don't lose electrical connectivity to your computer. The computer doesn't sense that there was a problem, right? Because the backup sends the electricity over to the battery automatically, and so the computer just feeds correctly the electricity. In fact, I think on a UPS, if I'm not mistaken, that the electricity is always coming from the battery, and the battery is always recharging. That's a correct statement, right? Yeah. So on a UPS, your electrical appliance, be it your computer or whatever, your lamp, its power is actually being fed from the battery, and the battery is constantly being recharged by being plugged in. So when you lose power at your house, your battery takes over, as it already has, and your computer hasn't shut down. And it's meant to give you about 5 minutes of, hey, I need to save my work and log off properly and maybe unplug, from things if I wanted to. But at the end of the day, it's meant to give you just a couple minutes to shut down your computer correctly, so it won't turn off. Because one of the worst things you can do to a computer is not shut it down correctly. You should never be just plugging it, unplugging it, or flipping that off switch. If it doesn't, some Dell computers, you can actually hit that switch and it actually says, hey, shut it down, and it'll shut it down correctly. But if you don't know that that's happening, please shut down your computer by going to the shutdown thing inside your computer and hitting the shutdown button and letting it shut down gracefully the way. Computer programs don't like to stop, because it might have not stopped in a place that it wasn't happy about. It might be confused the next time because you stopped it in mid-transition somewhere, and now the next time it turns on, it takes longer to turn on, or maybe it won't turn on at all because it's confused about where it should be. In fact, that probably causes a lot of hard drive failures. Hard drives, now the computer won't turn on because it doesn't know where to start the program at. In some cases, we can actually fix that. In other cases, we can't. Backup. We were putting this together this morning, and Ronnie said, this is a Ronnie Demos quote right here. Hard drives are like light bulbs. You never know when they're going to burn out. They really are. You can buy a brand new hard drive. You can buy a brand new light bulb, and you plug it in and it doesn't work, right? It happens. You can plug it in and the next day it's out for some reason. You're like, what the heck? I just bought that light bulb. I want to take it back to Walmart. Walmart's probably not going to take it back. They're probably going to say, how do I know it's there forever? You didn't switch out the light bulb? Nah, they probably will take it back. But at the end of the day, these are electrical devices, okay? And the disk in your hard drive, okay? Anybody have any idea how much your, anybody got an RPM gauge on their automobile? Yeah. Any idea how high it goes up to? 6,000? Okay. Your computer hard drive is spinning at 7,200 RPM. Okay. And that's as high as his truck will go to. I think mine goes to 3,000. I think I've got a little wimpy car, or a wimpy truck, but it's an older one too. It was made in the 90s. But I think it only goes up to 3,000 RPM in mine. But at the end of the day, and that's I got it down, and I've got it in first gear, and I'm pressing on that thing, and that gauge is all the way up, right? And I'm in the red at that point, and it's hey, you may want to stop that. The hard drive consistently spins at that fast, okay? And you're looking at that little drive, and what could that possibly do? It's got a really cool little thing in there. We got them we got examples actually at the office. If you're ever curious of what one looks like, we can open them up and show you. It's spinning really, really, really fast. It's got a lot of data, and it's got this small little laser optical drive that it reads inside your hard drive. But at the end of the day, it's an electronic component with moving parts. And moving them, bouncing them around, laptops weren't meant to bounce and go do this stuff. They were meant to casually and nicely put on a desk, move, and then shut and move to another place to casually and gently put down. They weren't meant to be dropped. They weren't meant to have sudden jerks. And certainly when you have moving parts and you're running the program, things go wrong. And so backup is really important. When you have a backup, put it on autopilot. Have it automatically happen. You should never have to back up your computer. It should already be done. You see that guy that I don't know if you've seen that Carbonite commercial where he tells his wife, "Hey, I'm gonna back up my computer, and it's gonna take me all day." And she says, "Well, have fun with that." And then he takes off and goes lobstering and does all this other stuff because his computer's doing all of it for him, right? He doesn't have to worry about it. It's on autopilot. It should always be taken care of. Now, you can do this stuff manually, but you shouldn't because people are people, and they will procrastinate doing something forever until it's just too late. And if it's on autopilot, you never have to worry about it. So whether it's a program or a disk, make sure you put it on autopilot and get your plan together before that storm arrives. 2 ways you can do it: external hard drive and online cloud service. Before we talk about the difference between those, the real problem is with these is sometimes people don't understand what a backup is. A backup is a copy of something. Backup means files are present in more than one location, and the other location is not where you're working on them. Okay? If, for example, you have Dropbox, Dropbox is an online collaboration file system. If you're using Dropbox and you think Dropbox is backing up your data, you're wrong. Dropbox is copying your current work. And if you accidentally hit delete on that folder, if a virus accidentally hits delete on that folder, Dropbox thinks, delete it everywhere. Go up to the online cloud and delete it there too. So Dropbox is not a backup. It is a collaboration tool, although a lot of people use it as a backup. It's certainly a backup. It can be used as a backup tool if done right. For example, we have a client, Central Texas Water Well. I don't know if you've ever heard of them. They're a local well company out on 287 here. And they have a program that we wrote for them that it's just a small little script that just copies all their current stuff to Dropbox. And now that is a copy because what's in Dropbox is not what they're working on. It's a nightly copy, and it's just a little thing that automatically runs at 5:05 p.m. or 5:01 p.m. in the evening. It starts copying everything over to Dropbox onto their computer right there, and then Dropbox starts syncing it with the internet. And so that's potentially a legitimate backup because you've got the files in more than one location in your computer, and in one case, it's copying them to the internet. Now, if someone was to hit delete in that thing, it would still go up to Dropbox and delete them, which is also why they back them up to an external hard drive as well. They actually use both. I use both. I use an online and an external. An external hard drive, everybody knows what an external hard drive is. Imagine you can see them at Walmart. We sell them at Silverbolt Computers. You can get them on Amazon. You just plop it in there. In a laptop, it's a little harder because your laptop's on the go with you sometimes, and you forget to install them. But on a desktop, they're really easy to take care of because you just plug it in, you leave it there, and it's done. You set the program to back up whenever it's supposed to back up, and it just does it, and you leave it alone. And if that thing crashes, well, Okay, one, it's going to tell you it crashes. Two, you've got your computers on your own computer, so your computer is backed up, and then you got to go get another backup because that hard drive crashed, but it can happen, right? But at least it's in more than one place. Online cloud storage backup. Carbonite. Carbonite does a lot of commercials on television, and that's a great place to back up. Carbonite. What Carbonite does is it looks at your computer and says, what's changed on my computer? And it has a little mathematical equation that goes through your computer and does these things called checksums, and it says, oh, hey, something's changed in this folder, and send it up there. And it can either back up all your files, it can actually image your entire system as well, depending upon what you're paying them and what plan you get. There's one problem with Carbonite and its type of services. If you are using satellite, say satellite internet such as Exceed, WildBlue, HughesNet, okay, all those companies give you so much connectivity for so much dollars. So they'll give you like 5 gig or 6 gig or 10 gig for X amount of dollars. Then after that, we'll call it cell phone overage rates, if you will, right? They're overage rates, okay? Well, online backup takes a lot, if you can imagine. If you've got a hard drive that's got 250 gigabytes on it and all of your grandkids' pictures are on it and all of little Joey's gymnastic pictures are on it, and the game is on it, and all these little video plops. It's copying all that, right? And that's taking up bandwidth of the amount that you're paying for on satellite. So if you're using satellite and you've got an online backup, you are going to be out really quick of the amount of someone's going to be calling. You're going to be calling the satellite company saying, hey, how come my internet doesn't work? And he's going to say, well, you've used all your data usage for the month. How did I do that? I barely use the internet. Well, it looks like it's this thing called Carbonite that you've already paid for, and it's doing all this stuff. But if you have AT&T or Vive or Internet America, those are more on the realms of unlimited. Technically, they're not unlimited. They just give you so much that you can possibly use it. And they're fine for using on Carbonite because you can send tons and tons and tons of files back and forth, and it'll work. It'll keep on working. Let's see. Online storage is great. External hard drive is great. External hard drive doesn't work if your house burns down. But if your house burns down, I think your computer is going to be one of your least worries. You know, I mean, I don't think you're going to be, oh gosh, I got to post on Facebook my house. You know, your financial records, yeah, you might have some Quicken files, you know, but your bank's probably got most of your stuff already. So you know that you might be okay there.
So if you have an internal hard drive and you're backing up your system, and you're not taking things like your some of these viruses, cookies or anything, are you taking that with you on putting it on?
Sure. Here's the difference. On a hard drive, it's not an operating system, so it can't do anything on that drive. It's static on that drive. It doesn't run from that drive. So it can, if you go over there and tell it to do something, but for the most part, those files are static. They're copies of something. It needs an operating system normally to run. Yeah. Now, yeah, so are you backing up viruses? Most likely so. But you're getting what you really need out of it too. And when you hook up that external hard drive to the next computer, it's going to be much harder for that virus to do anything. It needs a working operating system that it's installed on. The key is you have to actually install it on your computer. It has to understand the operating system. For example, let me give you just a real world example. If your computer crashes, okay, and I'm able to see your hard drive information on it, I can see your data files. A lot of times when your hard drive crashes, I can take all your data off of there. I can get everything. It's just something is wrong with the disk and it just doesn't want to do something. And you know, for a million different reasons, probably not a million, but quite a few different reasons that can happen. So I can take this stuff and I can take your data. For example, I could take your Quicken data or your QuickBooks data, but I can't take your Quicken or QuickBooks application because they're installed. I can take a file that needs to be installed, but I can't actually take a program that is installed. And the viruses are normally already installed. So when you're taking that stuff over, you're probably fine. Our series continues next month. We're going to talk about Facebook 101 and other social medias like Twitter and LinkedIn and all the other crazy things, Pinterest and Instagram, and we're going to focus on Facebook, and we might talk a little bit about Twitter, but we'll probably talk more about LinkedIn on the one that's not on March 9th, that's on May something. I've got the date wrong there. I apologize at the bottom one. But Facebook 101, should you be using Facebook? And, Facebook's a great tool, really is. I mean, it is the godsend to grandmothers. You can see everything that's going on with your kids, some other state. If your family is like my family, you are scattered across the entire globe and the entire United States for sure. And I've got cousins that I've only met once. I've got some cousins that I've never met because mother and father were in the military, and their brothers and sisters are in the military, and everybody settled because of our military and other places, right? And so we got people that, you can only go across the United States so many times when you're working family, right? And so there's people that I don't know, but now I know them very well from Facebook. They know me very well. They know what's going on. And it's surprising how well we can chat. But there's also some dangers on Facebook too. But there's some tools that we can use on Facebook to make our Facebook experience more fun. And there's some basic guidelines that we can follow, as well as we'll learn how to use some of the tools. How to post a photograph if you don't know how to do that. We can do whatever we want. We're going to probably be soliciting input from our customers as we go, which is kind of how we did this right here. We're going to solicit input from our customers about what do you need to know about Facebook. If you're not on Facebook, do you need to know what it is? And we're going to learn stuff about that. On April 19th, we're going to talk about cool tools for organizing your life and business. There are some amazing tools out there like Ancestry.com, if you've ever heard of it. Very cool little thing that you can learn about your heritage. Dropbox, great tool for storage and collaboration, where you can start backing up or sending in your office, sending a file from this computer to that computer without sending it, or even using a network. And this little application takes care of it for you. Evernote, great little application. We'll talk about lots of different little applications. Google, we will certainly talk about Google tools. Google's got some amazing tools that they've just given away for the world. They've got a very comparable Microsoft Office. You pay for Microsoft Office. You pay a lot of money for Microsoft Office. But Google's Office is really quite cool. We like to use it. In fact, Ronnie and I were using it together today. He was at his office at home, and I was at my office at home. And we were looking at the same spreadsheet at the same time, modifying it and doing it, and we could see what each other were doing, and we didn't set up anything to do that. Okay, there was no, I got to install this program. Google's just got it available out there if you've got a Google account, which is really kind of cool because if I've got a spreadsheet to modify, and he's got to wait for me to give it up or call me when you're out of that Excel spreadsheet because I got to make a modification to it too. Or Word document and stuff. You can see these online. You don't have to be on your computer. It's available. If you, for some reason, end up in Moscow and, gosh, you got to get a hold of that Word document. Well, it's there. Sorry, that Google document, not that Word document. That Google document, it's there online, available. There's some very cool chat things that are available on Google as well that make, to be honest, make Skype and Yahoo Messenger and MSN Messenger look boring. There's some really cool Google Hangouts, if you've ever heard of these. Just very cool. When the messengers got really popular a couple years ago, 10 years ago, something like that, my entire family was all on it, all across the United States on Yahoo Messenger every night at 8 o'clock. Uncle Bill would kick it off in Missouri and people would just join, and we'd just be talking about whatever. I mean, we just thought it was cool, right? We were using the internet to do this talking and all this stuff. Well, now they've got something that's much cooler called Google Hangouts, and everybody can see everybody. And it automatically changes based on who's talking. And you don't have to show yourself, but you can, and it's really quite cool. And it doesn't take up nearly as much bandwidth as you think it would. But we'll talk about stuff like that in the cool tools for organizing your life. And then that May date that's wrong there, it's actually May, and I don't think it's the 19th. I think it's like the 20th or something.
April 23rd.
Oh gosh, I got April 23rd and what?
And May 21st.
And May 21st. So I got the dates all wrong. I'm sorry. But May 21st, we're going to talk about Facebook for business. Should your business be on it? Should your club be on it? Should your organization, group? Can you limit the scope? For example, say we have a church group, and inside that church, you've got, our church has got a media group or a worship team group, right? Where the worship team can talk, and nobody else can see what's going on. The worship team can talk about, oh, hey, what about this song? And that's not going into anybody's news feeds, and people can't, First Baptist Church can't go, what are they going to do? Giving her a hard time. I just know she goes to First Baptist. It's just a little, you could use groups for, and in fact are used at corporations. I worked at a company in Phoenix that used Facebook groups, a closed group for talking about things that they wanted to do for a project, and only people that were in that group had access to it, and they could talk about it. They could put links, they could whatever have you, and it was historical, and you could go back and see, oh, what was this person's thought? But we'll talk about it for clubs and organizations, and there's ways to post. If you've got a business and it says, oh, I can post, but maybe there's better ways to do it than just boosting your post. There's a lot of great ways to do it. By the way, we have a Facebook client that we put together Facebook for, and we won't talk about his name at this point, but I think he's up to 175,000 followers on his Facebook, and we're very proud to say that we put that together for him. But 175,000, yeah, that's a big deal. That's somebody right here in Montague County. But anyhow, and we did that. We started that about a year ago for him. So, but they followed the directions, which is the great part about it. We gave him some directions, and he did it. And with very little help from us, actually. We gave him some directions and said, hey, do this. We haven't taken the own advice on our own Facebook page, I've noticed. You always fix somebody else's problem when they're paying you, right? You don't work on your own problems sometimes. But we're going to start working on our own Facebook in wrap up for that March 21st thing, so we can see what we've done in the last couple of months to up our own Facebook presence. And is there money to be made on Facebook? I mean, do people actually use it? 1/3 of all people in Bowie are on Facebook. What do you think? All people in the United States? All people in the world. That includes like Mongolia. I didn't know they had internet in Mongolia. I mean, everybody, 1/3 of the people in Mongolia on an average in China are on Facebook. So this is a place where if you want to get the word out, this is a great place to start. You want to buy something, sell something, swap something. Anybody been to the Montague County buy, sell, swap page on Facebook? I see people all the time. You ever been on it? You guys been on it? Anybody know about that? You can just take a picture of your blender that you've just had this sitting on the shelf there and say, $25 or best offer. and it sells. I mean, you know what I'm talking about? Have you been there?
No, I'm so.
Oh, do they have their own? Yeah, I mean, Tarrant County's one, Decatur, Wise County's got one. Almost every county has got one. And it is a great place just to dump your stuff on. It's an online garage sale is what it is. I mean, don't want to have a garage sale, take a couple of pictures. They'll let you post, like 4 or 5 things a day. I forget what the rules are, but they put the rules right up at the top there. So, and they're pretty easy going about their rules, but You know, they won't let you post the same thing over and over and over, but they'll let you sneak around the rule by doing a comment to it, which will bump it up to the same. But you know, I've tried to sell stuff on. I've not actually tried to sell stuff. I've tried to buy stuff on it. I said, hey, I'm looking for, and nobody replied to me. But I was looking for a weird thing that I couldn't find anywhere anyway, so I was just throwing it out there that I'd hope somebody in the county would have a old, used lateral filing cabinet. And nobody responded to me. So if you know someone. Anyhow, other than that, we are available online at Facebook, on Twitter, on LinkedIn, on Google Plus, and probably other places as well. I don't expect you to actually try to go find those places, but we are going to talk about those some other time. But Google and at Facebook and Twitter are certainly very important ones. And of course at www.silverbulletcomputers.com. Thanks a lot for coming.